Well, would Irish citizens in Ireland tolerate this if it was movements of goods from one part of Ireland to another?
Well, first of all, this is not about economic issues, okay, because the new system turbo boosts the economic fortunes of the north of Ireland. So while everybody is, focusing on the minutiae of a couple of elements of the deal, the big news is that the northern economy has access to both the European market and the British market, which is a sweet spot that most countries would love to be. And this is also not about the economic issues as well, because the economic welfare of your listeners has been significantly corroded over the last 22 months with the fall of the Stormont Assembly. The other point I want to make here is that this is an asymmetric debate that we're having currently. Democratic rights are not ornaments, okay? They are human rights. And we have a situation where the democratic rights of 1.8 million people in the north have been suspended by the DUP, and now we're waiting for the decision of a few dozen members of the DUP board to decide whether or not we have a democracy in this country anymore. Now, the point in relation to and fair play to you for going through the intricacies of the deal, but here's the situation, that Jeffrey Donaldson seems to be just talking about the unfettered access of products from the north of Ireland into Britain. And I think that's a significant issue there. Those products already have unfettered access into Britain.
So why is he asking for more new legislation, possibly to future-proof divergence?
And that is the point, because at the heart of this are two separate internal markets. Both internal markets are wary of opening up their internal market because they're wary that cheaper products will find a way in and will reduce competition within in those internal markets. The reason why they're separate is because now they have different standards. And when you have lower standards, your cost base reduces and you're more competitive. And that's why the European Union don't want maybe lower standard products that are cheaper coming in through the north. And in the future, potentially, Britain doesn't want lower standard, cheaper products potentially coming through the north into Britain. And obviously, there's a danger from Jeffrey's perspective that in the future there might be a similar type of checks coming in from Britain from the north of Ireland into Britain. And I think maybe that's where he's focusing his issues on. But, that is a very unlikely situation because, and this is not pejorative when I say this, but typically the European Union did go for higher standards than Britain. That's one of the reasons why Britain wanted a Brexit, because they wanted to lower their cost base. And it's very unlikely that you're going to have a line of products coming through the south of Ireland into the north and then into Britain that have a competitive advantage. And I think that's why, what we're seeing here is political theatre in reality. This is Jeffrey Donaldson, going to the mountain, saying he's come back with a deal and, giving him then the opportunity to go back into Stormont with holding his face, saying that he did right by the union. But I think all of this is theatre at this stage. And in reality,
when you say theatre, are you referring to the question asked by Sir Geoffrey to the Prime Minister yesterday, or what are you referring to?
I have no doubt that the Prime Minister will put in legislation that will give Geoffrey a cover, if you like, to go back into the Assembly. But that are we going to really trust? Are we really going to trust the Tories in relation to this? The Tories will change the law in a couple of years if they like. The key element I'm worried about here is that we have a political system that's been held to ransom by a minority political party. We used to have majority Unionist rule in this country. Now we have minority Unionist rule in this country. The fact that nothing can happen until Jeffrey gets his way. It's like you can have democracy, but only if the DUP.
But is Sir Geoffrey getting his way? That's the one of the questions here within all of this that we're trying to decode.
But it's the wrong question. With respect, Stephen, and this is the issue.
And we've also raised, by the way, which is a very, very important point, what type of change is fair or indeed tolerable to all of the other political parties in Northern Ireland?
Exactly, and here's the deal. It cannot be a one-party government. When we think of one-party governments, we think of Eastern European countries during the Cold War. We have a multi-party democracy where everybody has a right to have their opinion and have their say. And the fact that we are placing all the power over everybody's lives into the hands of an obstructionist DUP political party at this time is absolutely wrong. And here we are coming out of this negotiations. And there's no talk about getting rid of vetoes. There's no talk about getting rid of one party's chance to collapse Stormont in the future. So even if we do get Stormont back up and running, we're going to go back into a situation where both Sinn Féin and the DUP can bring it all down at any stage they want, and at the same time we have classrooms of children who have underfunding in terms of teachers. We have hospitals that are Daisy Hill Hospital losing its surgery services, Enniskillen losing its A&E, Causeway losing its maternity services. Like, the country is going to hell in a bathtub at the moment in terms of public service delivery. Public servants are having their incomes significantly run down, and yet we have this theatre going on, and whether or not Jeffrey Donaldson can go back into the whole process, it's backwards, it's not democracy, and the fact that it's still continuing is a disgrace.
Pater, thank you for being on the Nolan Show this morning.